Alright guys, good evening to everyone. Welcome to Ask ZFT Weekly Podcast with your host, Cosmos. Yan. So, as what I've mentioned, I think yesterday or the other day, I'm planning to start this special episode within Trading Republic wherein we would entertain questions from the community. So I mentioned top 3 heart-rated questions and we will feature them in our weekly podcast. So when I created, when the moderators created the Ask ZFT channel, at first only a few people asked questions. So syempre expected naman yon. Kakasimula lang ng ng run natin for this. But I'm hoping that in the next sessions, I would see more questions coming in. So this is your opportunity to be not only heard but to be featured in our ZFT programs. So of course, part of this program is yung desire namin or yung objective namin to really heighten engagement from the community. So we want to make sure that every week, or if not every week, every month, we would have special programs, special sessions wherein we're going to discuss things within trading and beyond trading. Ayan, so for tonight, I won't be answering or discussing 3 questions for the reason that the top rated question is, I think, more than enough to give us sufficient content for this podcast. So our featured question for tonight is from Sir Hadi. Ayan. Is Sir Hadi here? Can Sir Hadi at least say hello or ayan. So welcome Sir Hadi and thank you for the wonderful question that you have posted in our channel. So what was the question of Sir Hadi? This question was, okay, let me read it from the Ask ZFT podcast channel. So ito yung question niya, guys. So listen. I want to ask, how is the step-by-step process or what's the step-by-step in finding our trading niche effectively? Thanks in advance. So hashtag Ask ZFT. So this is a very common question coming from the trading community. Now, this is also a question that is not only common among newbies or those who are still starting, but it's also a big issue for those who are already in the advanced stages. So even for my end, okay, just to be transparent or to be honest with you guys, I'm still in the process of finding my niche. So most of you probably heard in my discussions, I'm talking about my declaration as a momentum trader. But actually, even if I have somewhat found my niche as a momentum trader, I'm still in the process of doing it or solidifying that niche, okay, on my end. Of course, I've not been in the market for more than 5 years. So, yung 5 years kasi, that's my basis for really, gathering data or seeking sufficient evidence for me to say that this is really my bread and butter or this is really my niche for my profile as a trader. Alright? So, I'd like to start this discussion with first answering, what is a niche? Okay, what is the definition of a niche? So, I went to Google a while ago while I was making my flow or outline for this discussion, and there are 2 definitions that stood out. Of course, Google would not give us a definition that is tailor-made for trading. So, medyo general yung yung definition natin. So, what are the 2 definitions that stood out? Okay, so listen. Number 1, a niche is a comfortable or suitable position in life or employment. So, I'd like to highlight the word comfortable and also the word suitable. Okay, so when we're talking about niche, it has something to do with where you are suitable and comfortable with. But this is in the context of life or employment. So is it also true when it comes to trading? So that's one of the things that we're going to answer. Second, what's the second definition that struck me or that stood out? So niche is denoting or relating to products, services, or interests that appeal to a small, specialized section of the population. So this has something to do more with the definition of a niche in the context of businesses or in the context of entrepreneurship. So what I'd like to highlight for this definition is the phrase small, specialized section. Okay? So yan yung mga keywords where much of my discussion about this would revolve around. So number 1, comfort, suitable. And then number 2, for the second definition, we have small, specialized section. In other words, when you ask what is my niche as a trader, what you are essentially asking is where do you want to specialize in? So this is quite similar with other professions. So I know many of us believe that trading is a profession. So sabi nila, if there is such thing as gambling as a hobby, but there are also professional gamblers. So that's the same. The same fact is true when it comes to trading. So there are retail traders, there are professional traders, there are people who trade just for the sake of trading, or it's just part of their hobby or interest. But on our end, what we'd like to establish is trading as a profession. So it's something that we take seriously, right? So what you are essentially asking is, where do you want to specialize? Now, there is a common misconception that I usually observe when it comes to the idea of having a niche as a trader. And this misconception goes like this. The moment you discover your niche, you can't try other types of trades. Okay? So, having a trading niche does not mean that you cannot try other types of trades. Okay, so I'd like to start with that, somewhat removing that misconception from you guys. So it's in the same way as being a classical musician, di ba? Yung pag musician ka, you have different genres that you can specialize in. So if you are a classical musician, that does not mean that you can play other types of music. So I hope that's understood for everyone. When we talk about niche, we're talking about something that you want to specialize in, but it's not going to be exclusive for that particular niche. Okay? So it doesn't mean that if you want to become a momentum trader, you cannot try swing trading or you cannot try trend following. It just means that where you are really good at or where you are specializing in as a trader is in terms of momentum or in terms of momentum trades. Okay? Second, this is also very important for those who are starting to explore their trading niche. You have to ask why you are trying to find your trading niche. So you need to ask why. In other words, you need to fill in this phrase. I need to find my trading niche so that I can blank. Okay, I'll repeat the phrase. I want or I need to find my trading niche so that I can blank. So, coming from you guys, I'd like to hear from some people, maybe in the comment section or in the chat box session, why do you want to find your trading niche? Especially from, I think, Sir Hadi, because he's the one who asked this question. So, what is the purpose of finding your trading niche? Anyone? Okay. So, according to Sir Walt, is the slides moving? No, there's no slide. This is a podcast. So, we only have this slide right here. Okay, so one of the things that are mentioned here is consistently profitable while not worrying that I will not be in a big loss. Okay? In order to have a focal point or a compass to my trading, to have an edge, I want to find my trading niche, to master it so I can trade comfortably, to become profitable consistently, okay, to have a comfortable weapon in trading. So, the way I see it, okay, from you guys, your general perception of why you want to know your trading niche is this. You want to know it so that you can be consistently profitable. Am I right? Tama ba yung pagkabasa ko or pagkaintindi ko from what you're trying to say to me, guys, regarding this question? Okay, so that is true. To some extent, that is essentially true. You need to find your trading niche so that you can be consistently profitable. But on my end, okay, based on my personal experience, that is not the primary reason why you want to know your trading niche. Okay? That is just a result. That is just the outcome of knowing your trading niche. Okay, so you have to separate, or you have to create a distinction between knowing why you want to know your niche and knowing what's the result of finding the right niche for your profile. You got the idea? Is that clear, or medyo magulo ba siya? So you have to create that distinction. At the bottom of it all, guys, at the most fundamental level of this question or this concept, knowing your trading niche is important because you want to match, okay, you want to match who you are as a trader with a specific profile. Because if walang matching doon, okay, if you cannot match yung personality mo or yung strengths mo, even your weaknesses, if you cannot match that with a certain trading niche, okay, and I'll mention the different trading niche later. If you cannot match that, it would be very difficult for you to not only reach consistent profitability, but it would be very difficult for you to trade. Okay, just to trade itself, because there's going to be a lot of conflicting elements in your trading that you might find hard to understand in a way. You might think that the problem is in terms of technicals. You might think that kulang ako ng knowledge when it comes to this setup. But at the end of the day, the real problem behind is what you're trying to do is not match with what you are or who you are. Okay? So I'd like to start with that foundation before I answer this question extensively. Okay? And one of the prerequisites before you look for your trading niche is you have to have a complete trading system. So, hindi pwede na naghanap ka ng niche mo ngayon but hindi pa kompleto yung trading system mo. Okay? So, I know many of you here are participants of the TI program. Some of you are masterclass students. Some of you are from Blueprint. So, regardless of what program you entered into Trading Republic, you need to understand that before you ask, okay, before you begin to ask what your trading niche is or how can I find it, you need to be very confident or to be certain within yourself that your trading system is complete. And by complete, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have already executed it to perfection. Okay? So by complete, it means all the necessary elements within the trading system is present. Now that is in terms of setups, in terms of risk management, in terms of filtering, in terms of knowing which stocks to trade or not. So all of those things, all of those elements should be present first before you start asking what your trading niche is. Okay? So maybe you need to write it down. So one of the prerequisites in looking or in finding your trading niche is you need to have first a complete trading system. So I'm assuming at this point that many of you here, if not all, have already somewhat, created your own trading system from what you've learned from ZFT. Okay? So, given that foundation or given that prerequisite, what are the different trading niche? Tama ba? Niches? I'm not sure how to pronounce yung plural ng niche, no? So, niches or niches or I don't know, just trading niche, yun na lang. So, what are the different trading niche? We have position trading, we have trend following, we have swing trading, we have momentum trading, and we have scalping. Again, these are not exclusive profiles, okay? These are just specializations. So, you have to remember that throughout the discussion. So, first things first, you need to understand that all of these different profiles have disadvantages and advantages. Okay? So for example, position trading. Okay, I'm not sure if we have position traders right here. Some of you might have tried position trading, but you are not essentially specializing in that. But just to, have a sort of idea of what position trading is, what do you think is the disadvantage and advantages, or what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of position trading? Maybe give me one for each aspect. So disadvantage and disadvantage. So ayan, very clear. Sabi dito, the advantage is having a low AEP because you are entering before the stock even moves. But the disadvantage is it demands a longer time frame, according kay Sir Ishko. Okay? So all of these profiles have disadvantages and advantages. Now, how do you know ano yung disadvantage and advantage ng mga profiles na to? Number one, what you can do is ask those people who you know are following that particular profile. So I'm not sure sino yung mga position traders in ZFT, but I'm sure there are trend followers, there are swing traders, there are momentum traders, and there are scalpers within ZFT that you can ask. This is very important because one of the many reasons why it's quite misleading for a trader to, to determine his niche, because at the back of the mind of the trader, ang iniisip niya is, if only I know my niche, then I would have flawless trading. Okay, again, if only I have that niche, then that's the only time I would have the kind of trading that I'm dreaming about. Yung flawless execution, because it perfectly matches what I can do. So that is a very dangerous notion, because at the end of the day, your goal is not to have flawless execution. Your goal is not to have flawless trading. Your goal is simply, for this aspect alone, is simply to match your strengths, your weaknesses, your inclinations with these different trading profiles. So that's step one, guys. Okay, as far as looking for your niche is concerned, before you even look for it, you have to understand what are the advantages and disadvantages. And the one way of doing that is by asking people who are practicing that particular profile. Okay, I'll name you some people. For example, for momentum trading, you can ask me, you can ask Boss Z. Okay, I believe that si Boss Z is a momentum trader. Okay, for swing trading, you can ask Sir Ken. Okay, he would be glad to recruit you in that profile. Trend following, I think Sir Alpha is a trend follower. It's going to be kumbaga, it's a mentor pursuit on your end, guys, for this part, okay, for this step. So do not be afraid or do not hesitate to ask. Scalping, we have si Sir Mbti G. Known siya as a scalper within ZFT. In fact, he won the last trading competition of Instagrams through scalping. So, okay, that's the first step. Knowing the disadvantage and advantages of each of these trading profiles. Okay? So, this is the first concept that I'd like to introduce when it comes to finding your trading niche. Okay, ito na yung part, yung process talaga mismo. Okay? Gusto kong i-type to, no, for everyone to really remember. Ayan. So, finding your trading niche is a function of who you can be, not who you are now. I want you to understand this concept or this sentence. Finding your trading niche is a function of who you can be and not who you are now. Because guys, as far as trading is concerned, okay, meron tong isang parang webinar that I have watched, I think a year ago, 2 years ago. And one of the things that I've learned from that video is trading is more than just a way to earn money. Okay? Tinanong kasi siya, may person who is interviewing this trader, and the interviewer asked this trader, if you have to describe trading in one word, what would it be? Okay? So if you have to describe trading in one word, what would it be? And you know how he described it? Actually, ang description niya is hindi siya one word parang two words siya. So it's a compound word. So trading daw is a process of self-exploration. I know you have heard of this concept before. When you start trading, you will begin to learn a lot of things about yourself, about your weaknesses, about your strengths. And I think that's a very profound concept, or that's a very profound way of putting trading into perspective. Because essentially, when it comes to earning through trading, that's just an outcome. That's just a result of you following the process. So at the end of the day, if you really trim down to trading at its rawest form, trading is really all about self-exploration. That means when it comes to finding your profile, it doesn't necessarily mean that kung sino ka ngayon or kung ano yung weaknesses mo ngayon, what are your strengths as of the moment, then that would be your sole basis in determining your profile. Okay? So again, when you look for your niche, you need to know who you can be and not who you are right now. Because who you can be is who you really are. Okay, I'll repeat that. Who you can be is who you really are. Not only as a trader, but even as an individual. Okay? So, sige, lagay natin yan ha. So, wala pa talaga tayo based fundamentally. Wala pa tayo sa yung talagang step by step, because Sir Hadi is asking us, what are the step by step? What's a systematic process in finding your trading niche? So, ang ginagawa natin ngayon, so what we're doing right now is we are trying to establish the foundation, okay? The beliefs that are necessary for you to have an effective search in your trading niche. Okay? So, who you can be. Yan. Kulang yung ano natin. Who you can be equals who you really are. Alright. So now, when it comes to the process itself, I've broken it down into 4 different steps. Okay, so 4 different steps. The first step is knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. So, parang napaka ang tawag nito? Parang anticlimactic siya, because of course, that's part of trading, right? Knowing your strengths and weaknesses. So, in terms of finding your trading niche, that's essentially really the first step. Okay, once you understand what the niche are, what are the advantages and disadvantages, then the next step is knowing your own strengths and weaknesses. Now, there are a lot of ways, guys, of doing this. Okay? Sobrang daming ways dyan. Some people would advocate taking this personality test. Okay? Some people would say na you have to somewhat, ang tawag dito, consult a psychologist. Okay? Some people even go to that extent just so they can identify their strengths and weaknesses. Because, guys, normally, we are not good observers of ourselves. Okay? Sometimes we think that we are good in this one aspect, but some people would invalidate that or would say na, maybe that's not really your strength. And we find that hard to accept, but that's a very important part of finding your trading niche. Okay? So, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Now, on my end, my process of looking for my own trading niche, it started with a very common test. I'm not sure if narinig na to ng lahat. So, it started with taking an MBTI test. I know you might find that hilarious or ano ba, parang nakakatawa, napaka-superficial. But I don't know. Yung MBTI test, when I first took that, it really parang super accurate ng naging results niya sa akin. Okay? The results were not only accurate, it also gave me an idea of who I can become as a trader. So I'm not suggesting that you also take it, and I'm not even sure if it will work for you. But just try. Okay, just try. So anyone who knows what MBTI is? Or is this the first time that you have heard of this personality test? Okay, so Mark knows, siya lang ba? First time? Okay, so we have some first timers here. So MBTI is a personality test by Myers-Briggs. So you can just Google MBTI personality test. And what you will see is a list of different references, no? Ang piliin nyo doon, guys, is yung 16 personality test. Okay? So take that and read about your profile under the MBTI. So ako, I'm an INFP. May INFP. So I'm a paano ba yung dinidescribe yung INFP? I think it's mediator or something. Ayan. So thank you, Sir Ishko, for the link. So, I know this sounds a little bit, ano ba yan? Parang ang layo naman. So, we're talking about trading niche, but why is Sir Cosmos recommending us to take personality test? Because again, guys, before you find your trading niche, you have to know where you are good at and where you are bad at, or ano yung weaknesses mo. So, yan, we have MBTI. Some people also advocate yung Clifton Strengths Finder. So, if I'm not mistaken, yung trading coach natin within ZFT is Ma'am Celeste. So, she is a ano ba yung term? Licensed or certified Strengths Finder coach, if I'm not mistaken. So, you can also ask her about it, how to take the test. Are there fees involved? Because if I'm not mistaken, there are fees involved in taking it. But accordingly, I have not yet taken it. Okay, some people are recommending me to take it. But accordingly to those people who took it, it's very reflective of their, not only their personality, but in terms of where they are good at and ano yung mga bagay that they need to improve. Okay, so yan, sabi ni boss, it's a recommended personality test. I'm not sure if it's a personality test ba siya, boss? Parang hindi, no? So it's not really a personality test. It's more of a personal assessment test. Okay? Because it's not limited to your personality, unlike the MBTI. Okay.
It does. The Strengths Finder has a lot of other factors there that you would want to find out. It's really about self-awareness and being able to know what your strengths are and to have those strengths work on your favor whenever you're doing things. Basically, it's being aware. Kasi it's in like trading, you have to be very self-aware in the things that you're doing.
Yes.
And if you're not self-aware, you might be doing some stuff that you aren't supposed to, and you're losing a lot of money. But with this, hopefully, that you'd be able to identify which one, what are your tendencies.
Yes.
And therefore help you grow in certain areas on how you tackle things. And if probably you're having a problem with things, and know kung ano yung mga strengths mo, you'd be able to easily tackle the problem head on.
Yes. Ayun, thank you, boss, for sharing insights about the Strengths Finder, Clifton Strengths Assessment Test. So yun, guys, no, as you can see, many of the traders that you know or that you look up to are taking this self-assessment, self-awareness concept very seriously. Okay, this is not something that nag-take siya ng personality test, ang corny naman. This is not something that you laugh about as a trader. Okay? Because we can be very immersed in terms of knowing the knowledge part of trading, like knowing the technicals, knowing the calculations, knowing the setups, and at the end of it all, at the end of the process, you might seem to neglect the idea that it's not really about doing or knowing these things. It's about having the right mindset, okay, knowing yourself fully, where you are good at, so that you can execute what you have learned. Okay? So, for some people, especially yung mga ano dito na, let's say, around 1 to 2 years in trading, this concept of self-awareness or knowing yourself fully as a trader might sound foreign and a little bit odd. And I do not blame you guys, because when I started, that was also my idea when it comes to these things. The first time I read about trading psychology, and that was through Mark Douglas book, yung Trading in the Zone. So I've mentioned it in my risk management module. So, di ba sabi ko doon na this book changed everything, changed how I saw trading, really did that pivot, yung kailangan ko na 180-degree turn in my trading. But guys, to be really honest with you, when I first read that book, I found it weird. Okay? And that's being parang modest about my description. I found it odd. I found it unusual. Like, why is this guy telling me that in my mind I have a lot of beliefs, I have a lot of self-limiting beliefs, that's what they call it, and I have a lot of yung term niya nga doon is emotional pain that I can tap, or that the market taps, so emotional pain that the market taps, and because the market is tapping to that emotional pain, I find it hard to execute my trades. And for me, it's at first it did not really, hindi siya nagkaroon ng click sa mind ko. Okay? It did not give me that eureka moment na ito pala yun. This is the problem. This is my problem as a trader. Okay, but eventually, the more I traded, the more I engaged in the market, it became really apparent to me that the problem is not really in terms of my knowledge in trading, because I believe that as far as knowledge is concerned, I can easily compensate for that. Okay? Not to brag about it, but sa part ko kasi, I'm confident that when it comes to learning new concepts, when it comes to learning difficult concepts, that's something that I find quite easy to do. So, there I was around a year or so from my trading journey, and I know all these concepts, but I can't seem to put it into action. I can't seem to get results out of it. Okay? So going back to our question of finding your niche. Do not take this self-awareness process, or knowing yourself, taking this test, something that, you just laugh about. Okay? Because this is something really serious. Okay? Take this seriously. Okay, guys? So, part of knowing your strengths and weaknesses is also having a sort of personal metrics when it comes to your trading. So, on my end as a trading coach, for the past 2 batches of masterclass and also in Project Seed, I think that was last year, I devised a sort of, para siyang test. And the goal of the test is to determine what are your inclinations when it comes to looking at the markets, or when it comes to trading the markets. I'll give you some questions, okay? And let me know if what your answers are. Sige, wait. Open ko lang yung Tapos, once I gave you some sample questions, tell me, how do you think is that question related to your inclinations as a trader? And by inclinations, what I mean by that is your inclination towards position trading, towards momentum trading, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, let's pull out yung test natin. And also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I promised the community that sometime in the future, we are going to administer this test so that everybody can somewhat know ano yung inclination nila as a trader. Okay? Sige, wait. Alright. So, here are some questions that I've included in this test. Of course, hindi ko ibibigay lahat. These are 50 questions. So, the first question goes something like this. Okay? So, listen. I find it difficult to multitask. I'd rather do one task at a time. So, the way that this question is devised is the respondent would answer it in terms of the Likert scale. So, hindi ko alam kung narinig yun na yung Likert scale, but it works something like you either strongly disagree, you disagree, you're neutral about it, you agree, or you strongly agree. Okay? So, ilagay natin yung options natin sa chat natin. So, strongly disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. Sige, I'd like to hear from some people. For the first question, or for the first item, I find it difficult to multitask. I'd rather do one task at a time. Okay. So, obviously, hindi magiging pare-pareho yung sagot natin, di ba? So, if you answered, for example, your answer here is you strongly agree. You find it difficult to multitask. What do you think, or which profile among the 5 different trading profiles do you think you're more inclined to? Okay? You find it difficult to multitask. Do you think you have an inclination towards scalping? If you're the type of person who find it hard to multitask, do you think you can scalp effectively? Yes or no? No, okay? Because scalping requires you to do a lot of multitasking in real time. Okay? In real time, because you have to determine your current risk, and then the moment the market moves just a few flux away, then you have to assess again kung ano ba, target price hit na ba, TP hit na ba tayo, and so on and so forth. So you have to make all these decisions on the fly if you're trying to master scalping. Momentum trading somewhat to that extent as well. Okay? So as far as this question is concerned, if you strongly agree, more or less you are inclined towards the left end of the trading profile spectrum. And what's on the left end? You have position, you have trend following, and you have swing trading right there. Okay? Ito, another question. I find myself easily enticed by sales and discounts, especially if it is a really good bargain. Or sa Tagalog pa, madali kang ma-hook kung discounted yung mga nakikita mo sa mall. So, do you agree or disagree? Or strongly disagree or neutral about it? Okay. So, let's review or let's understand what the question is really asking us in terms of trading. If you are the type of person who is easily enticed by sales and discounts, do you think you can be a position trader? Yes or no? Okay, do you think you can be, or are you more inclined to position trading if you are someone who is easily enticed by sales and discounts? And the answer to that is generally yes. Okay? Maybe not all would agree with that, but generally speaking, your inclination to that non-trading situation, okay, your inclination to that non-trading situation or non-trading scenario would reflect itself in your trading. So do you understand how these questions seem to reflect your inclinations as a trader? So I have 50 questions of this. Okay? 50 different questions that would help me assess where is your inclination as a trader. Okay? And that's one of the things that you can look forward to in the future. Kasi we will administer this to the whole community. We're just finalizing the platform kung saan siya i-administer. Okay, would it be administered through the app? Would it be administered through Google Form or through Typeform? Yun yung part na we are still finalizing at this point. Gusto nyo pa isang question? Okay, maybe I can give 3 sample questions. Ito, I find this question very interesting. By the way, these questions are devised by me. Okay, hindi ko to kinuha ha. I did not get this from some other references, or I did not pattern this with other trading assessment tests or whatsoever. So these are questions that I really reflected on, that I personally believe would help me understand the trader. Okay? Or would help me understand kung sino yung nagtitake ng test na to. Okay, eto. Listen to the question. If I were to receive $1 million, I would prefer getting it in one bulk over receiving it in tranches over a year. Okay, again, I'll repeat the question. If I were to receive $1 million, I would prefer getting it in one bulk. Okay, isang bagsakan lang, ayan, 1 million. Over receiving it in tranches over a year. Okay. Talagang walang nagdi-disagree, ha? Okay, no one seems to disagree. So, ayan, we have one person. Okay? Sir Arvin, we have Sir Arvin, we have Ma'am Blisa, who disagree. So I'd like to hear from these two people para meron tayong konting interaction. So, Sir Arvin, what do you think is your momentum, what do you think is your trading profile? Sorry, momentum agad yung naisip ko pag trading profile yung pinag-usapan. So, what do you think is your trading profile, Sir Arvin? And si Ma'am Blisa din. Ma'am Blisa, what do you think is your trading profile? Are you more inclined towards position trading, or are you more of a momentum type? Okay, so Sir Arvin is saying that he is a swing momentum. Okay, what about Ma'am Blisa? Okay, swing F. What's swing F? Swing trend following po. Okay, so based on this question, okay, ito yung analysis ko dito. This is just my personal take on the question. If your answer to the question is, wait, saan ba yung question na wala ko? Ayan. So if your answer to the question is you strongly agree, that means you are more inclined towards momentum trading. Okay? Because the nature of position trading, if you really understand how position trading or trend following works, it has something to do with selling in tranches and buying in tranches. Unlike momentum, okay, momentum generally, as far as my understanding is concerned, is when I do momentum, I really try to, siguro ang maximum tranches ko is 2. Okay, so buy before the breakout, buy at the breakout, sell on strength, and sell on first sign of weakness. So all other, concepts that trend followers use, such as using moving averages as trailing stops, hindi ko siya masyado ina-apply. So I don't usually apply that in my trading. Okay? So ayan. Ito, last question. Okay, medyo naaliw ako Last question. Okay, wait. Hanap tayo dito. When I sense danger, I like to make sure that it is really certain before getting away. Nagets ba yung question? Okay? When I sense danger, I like to make sure that it is really certain before getting away. Kumbaga, kung may nakita kang something na scenario or situation where it's dangerous but hindi ka sure kung talaga bang dangerous siya or risky siya, you might not get away agad. Okay, gusto mo muna siguraduhin, eto, delikado nga. Okay, may namatay nga dito. So, aalis ako. Okay? So, your answer to that would also give me an idea of where you are inclined as far as the trading profiles are concerned. So, based on my analysis, if your answer to this is if you strongly disagree, okay? In other words, if you are the type of person who does not get away until sure ka na talaga, okay, until you are very sure that the danger is there, then you are more inclined towards momentum trading. Why do you think that is the case? Okay, try to reflect or try to think about it. Why do you think that if you are that type of person who, kumbaga parang even if it's not sure that the danger is there, you tend to get away, why do you think you're more inclined to momentum trading? Okay, anyone? I hope everyone is following where this is leading to. Okay. So why do you think that's the case, guys? Yun. Okay, I like the answer of Sir Bon. Out on the first sign of weakness. Okay? You see, the distinction between trend followers and momentum traders in terms of selling is trend followers sell when the trend breaks. Right? Generally, they won't sell just because there is a red candle. Okay? Generally, they won't sell just because the price of this stock did not create a new high. Okay, but in terms of momentum trading, even if the trend is still there, even if the trend is still present, okay, we might find ourselves getting away or closing the trade because that's part of our profile or that's part of our inclinations. Ayan guys, so yun, this is something you can look forward to. So I have assessed, I think, more or less 30 people within Trading Republic using this test. Okay, using this test that I have devised. So expect nyo lang na it will be rolled out to the rest of the community pretty soon. So ayun guys, basically what I'm trying to say for the first step, okay, for this part in terms of finding your niche is knowing yourself, knowing what your inclinations are, what your strengths and weaknesses are. Okay. So last thing about this phase or about this step. So listen. If you tried playing different ano bang tawag dyan? RPG games ba yan? Yung Ragnarok. Anyone who have played Ragnarok here? Meron ba? Okay, that's childhood, di ba? Back in RPG, yun, RPG game, MMORPG. So, if there are RPG lovers out here, then you know how it feels to play Ragnarok. What is the nature of the different classes or different jobs in that game? Okay, ano yung nature nila? Is there a particular job wherein diba there are different statistics like dexterity, agility, you have strength, you have intelligence, you have luck. Tama ba? Strength, agility, intelligence, dexterity, and luck. Right? Yung alam ko lang yung basics I'm not familiar with the other servers. I'm familiar with the classic, with the original Ragnarok MMORPG. So there are 5 statistics. Is there a profile or is there a job class wherein you can somewhat get the best out of those statistics? In other words, you are you are a master of all trades. Is there a profile as that? Meron ba ganong klaseng profile sa game? Okay, I know it's possible to maximize all your statistics kasi during the time, sometime around 2 years or 3 years after the classic version was released, there were a lot of servers, so you can buy stats, no? In fact, yung iba may cheat pa sila, 'di ba? But the truth is, the different classes, the different jobs, so the archer, the swordsman, ano pa yun, mage, wizard, and all these things, each of these jobs are designed or is designed to have a specialty. And the specialty or the specialization of that particular job depends on its statistics. Do you get what I'm trying to say here? Okay, so ayan, sinasabi na ng iba, when you are an assassin, you need to maximize your agility and your luck. Okay? Or luck, that's yun na yung crit, 'di ba? So in trading, guys, there are also different trading statistics. Okay, now this is different. Okay, this is different from the initial test that you would take because yung mga tests na yon, their role is just to help you understand where you are good at, help you understand what your personality is, and help you understand where you are most inclined to. So, based on my own observations, okay, based on my experience as well, I have identified 5 different trader stats. Okay, let's call this trader stats. So what are these trader stats? Number 1, you have patience. Number 2, you have risk tolerance. Number 2, you have your ability to focus. Number 4, you have your flexibility of schedule. And number 5, your propensity for panic. Yan. Now, if you remember how the statistics in Ragnarok works, di ba? Meron yung parang graph. Na-imagine nyo ba yung graph of the stats? It's like a pentagon. Okay? Pentagon siya. In Dota, there is also a similar graph wherein you can check if this player is good in farming, if this player is good in supporting, and so on and so forth, just by looking at that pentagon. Okay? And the nature of this pentagon, or ayan, spider chart yung tawag pala doon. So the nature of this chart or the nature of this diagram is in such a way that if you want to maximize one part of your statistics, then the effect of that is nami-minimize or nababawasan naman yung opposite end of that particular statistic. Okay? So in Ragnarok, if I'm not mistaken, parang you can, let's say, maximize your agility, okay? But in some way that would pull your strength downwards. Okay, parang ganun siya. Especially when you are creating you are trying to create your initial character. Diba? When you are creating your initial character, you have a limited number of stat points. Okay, you have a limited number of stat points that you can allocate to these different statistics. So in trading, guys, when you are starting, do not expect that you can maximize all your trader stats. Okay? Do you get the idea? So, lahat tayo, di ba? Every one of us, we want to gamify trading. Okay? We want to make it more interesting. So, trading is really boring, guys. When you understand it, the moment you're able to execute your plans in a way that consistent, profitable traders do, it becomes very boring. So, if you want to gamify it, this is one concept that you have to understand and you have to remember throughout your trading career, that you cannot maximize all your trading statistics the moment you start. So, I want you to ask yourselves at this point. This is also part of my personal assessment in assessing the trader. If you have to rate yourself from 1 to 10 in terms of patience, risk tolerance, ability to focus, flexibility of schedule, and propensity for panic, what would be your ratings be? Or what would be your ratings? Redundant na yung English natin. What would be your ratings? Okay, because that will tell me and that would tell you a lot about not only what you need to improve, but also where you are most inclined at this point. Okay, for example, let's talk about patience. Okay, patience as one of your trader stats. Now, the way I understand patience in terms of trading is there are two types of patience. This is very important. Okay, listen. Two types of patience. The first type of patience is patience in terms of your setup. Okay? Or better yet, patience in terms of waiting for your setup. Okay? Another aspect of patience is patience in terms of holding your positions. So, now, these two types of patience, normally, they are inversely proportional sila. Kumbaga, if you are good or if you have a high rating for the first type of patience, then more or less, medyo hindi ka okay pagdating doon sa second aspect of patience. But in some traders, both of these levels of patience are essentially pareho na sila ng levels. Okay, they have the same levels. So, you ask yourself, if you are someone who can hold their positions longer than the average trader, okay, you have that kind of patience, then that means you are more inclined towards position trading or trend following. Okay, tama ba? But when it comes to waiting for your setup, okay, waiting for that confirmation, generally, you are more inclined to momentum trading. Okay? So again, this is not an absolute way of determining your profile. This is just one aspect. So I can be right, I can be wrong about it, but I'm just talking in terms of what's the typical inclination for that person. Okay? So that's patience. Risk tolerance, it's quite self-explanatory. Ability to focus, self-explanatory. Flexibility of schedule. Of course, this is one of the main considerations that you need to address. If you want to become a momentum trader, but you do not have the flexibility of schedule as far as monitoring your positions is concerned, then it's either you set aside momentum trading for the meantime, or find a way where your schedule can be more flexible than what it is right now. Okay? So, in other words, you need to adjust. If you really believe that you are a momentum trader, then kailangan you resolve yung problems mo when it comes to your monitoring or when it comes to your schedule. Otherwise, you have to say to yourself, now for the meantime, I need to stick with trend following, or I need to stick with swing trading. Even if I really believe that I'm for momentum trading, I have to sacrifice, okay, until I can address this concern. And lastly, propensity for panic. Basically, what this trader stat is parang it's about when you are in the execution stage, okay, when you are in the market in real time, do you find yourself panicking, or do you find yourself in a sort of in a situation na hindi ka calm, okay? In a situation where you are not that calm when it comes to your execution, because either you are trying to trade a very volatile stock that you are not used to, or you are trading a setup which you have not really fully understood. So yun lang naman yung dalawang reasons normally why a trader would panic. Yeah, of course, there's a third reason, which is position size, but we assume that, let's say, the risk management is in place. Okay? So yun lang yung dalawa. Is either you're trading something that is too volatile for your profile, or number two, you're trading a setup that you have not fully backtested. Okay? So if your propensity for panic is really high, then that means you are not well suited for scalping, or well suited for momentum trading, as the case may be. Because these two profiles are, or require you to have a different level of focus and calmness when it comes to real-time execution. And that's the truth. Okay? That's not something that I just made up. That's really that's a requirement. Okay? It's not a parang option lang na dapat ganito ka. Pag hindi ka ganyan, okay lang. Okay? You need to have that kind of calmness and mentality when it comes to that particular profile. Okay, of course, if you're a trend follower, sabi ka nila, di ba, when you are, the moment a trend follower was able to pick a stock that broke out and that starts to trend, ano yung magiging parang what would be the state of mind of that trader? Normally, relax na. Di ba? Kumbaga, sabi nga nila, parang sit back and enjoy. Parang ganun yung nature ng trend followers the moment they are able to find the right stock. So, yun guys, in order to really identify yourself, okay, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, so these are the things that you can do, okay, in finding your trading niche. So, take some personality test, MBTI, Clifton Strengths Finder. Know your trading statistics. Okay? Really be honest with yourself when doing your rating. And lastly, yung promise natin that we are going to administer our own trading assessment test for you to know what your inclinations are when it comes to the different trading profiles. Okay? So, that's step 1. Once you're done with step 1, and once you're done with this step, it would be very straightforward for the succeeding steps. Okay, so what's step 2? Step 2 is all about data gathering. Okay? So, step 2 is data gathering. So, why do we need to gather data when it comes to your trading profiles? Because the numbers should support your claim. Okay? What you're really trying to do in step 1 is you are creating a commitment, okay? That's from a psychological perspective. So you're creating a commitment that this is the profile that I want to master. Okay? So that's your commitment. But in a systematic approach, what you're creating in step 1 is really a hypothesis. Okay? So lagi ko ito na mention. In backtesting, this is one part or one aspect of backtesting that is very important. In finding your trading niche, the same is true. So what you're really doing in step 1 is you are creating a hypothesis. I am a momentum trader. Okay? I am a momentum trader. But are you really sure that the numbers or your performance would back that up? Okay? So this is step 2. Gather data. And while you are gathering data as far as your trades are concerned, you need to have that mindset that you are not yet in the process of being consistent in terms of income, okay, in terms of gains. where you are right now is still in the experimentation stage. Okay, you are conducting an experiment as far as your profile is concerned. So this is probably the longest phase or the longest step in finding your trading niche. Okay, and personally, as far as I'm concerned, I am still in this particular step. Okay? So, nasa data gathering pa rin ako up to this point. Because again, I would say that my experience as a trader in terms of time, so I'm more or less around 4 years in the market, the data that I have to really give me that confidence or yung parang conviction that this is really my profile is still not at a level that I want it to be. Okay? So, that's on my end. I'm not sure if ganun din yung case sa inyo guys. So, this would take time. Okay? Maybe, for some, it would take more or less 5 years. Okay? And that's the same time, okay, in terms of what I hear from other traders, 5 years, more or less, is the same time where you would achieve or you will achieve consistent profitability, assuming you are doing everything correctly. Okay? Last time I asked Bossy about this, sabi niya more or less that's the same time that talagang full conviction na siya that yes, I am a consistent profitable trader. I asked other mentors before, sabi din nila that's around the same time, 3 to 5 years or 5 years yung maximum. So notice that the time it takes for you to gather your data in order for you to back up your claim, okay, back up your trading profile, and the moment that happens, yung pagiging consistently profitable or the state of being consistently profitable would naturally follow. Okay? So, maybe you would ask, how do we gather data about our trades? So, one part of that is, of course, through journalizing. That's a very important aspect. Everyone should journalize as a trader. And number 2, the moment you journalize, you need to have a sort of way or method to summarize your trades in terms of the 3 fundamental trading statistics. Okay, actually, there's more than 3. Pero 3 yung pinaka-core. That's win rate, average gain, average loss. Okay, na-discuss natin to guys. So, we discussed this under our risk management module. Okay? So, my suggestion, my challenge to those people here who are in the process of finding their niche is have at least 200 trades first before you can really at least have a level of reasonable certainty that your performance is backing up your profile that you have committed to. Okay, 200 trades. So, based on these 200 trades, which setups are you having the best performance in terms of gains? Also, guys, other than win rate, other than your averages in terms of gains and losses, you also have to know your holding time. Okay, holding time. On average, how long are you holding your positions? Because that also tells us a lot about your trading profile. No, not necessarily per setup, Sir Walt. You can do it in general, okay, sa buong trading performance mo. If you can do it per setup, that's good. Okay, that's good. But most of the time, that would take a lot of, medyo matagal yan if you do it per setup. Okay. Maybe what you can commit per setup is at most 30 to 50 trades per setup. Assuming you have different setups. And I'm not sure if all the setups were taught to you guys. I know some setups like yung consolidation at the highs, the bounce setup. So these setups were part of our modules. But for some people, it's not, hindi siya naturo, diba? So you have to find a way how to devise your own setups, okay, for you to have an idea of ano yung magiging trading stats mo for those different setups. Okay? So, Sir Rafael is asking, can we do it through backtesting? Yes, you can also do it through backtesting, but it would not be that reliable. Okay? It's still better if you do it through a live trade, through live trades. Yeah. Iba pa rin pag live trades. Ayun, just a reminder, when you are under this stage, under the data gathering stage, please really try to minimize your risk. Because again, your goal here is just to gather data. Di mo pa goal magkaroon ng malaking gains. Your goal is not to win big. During my time of gathering data for some setups that I was able to backtest, and now I'm trying to execute it in the real markets. During that time, there was a point in my trading where for this setup I would only allocate around 5% of my portfolio. Okay? Sometimes it's lower than that. Sometimes I just allocate, let's say, 10,000 pesos. Okay? So for this setup, I would commit, let's say, 50 trades of 10,000 pesos each. Assuming that 10,000 peso represents an insignificant or somewhat a very small amount of your entire portfolio. If your portfolio is around, let's say, 500,000, then maybe you can just commit the minimum allocation. Okay, what's the minimum allocation in PSE? Yung hindi ka lugi when it comes to commissions and taxes. It's 8,000, right? So if you need to do it that way, just for you to be very comfortable in terms of your risk, then please do it. Okay? Unless, here's the interesting part, unless you are someone who is not patient when it comes to the process behind gathering or behind understanding your niche. Because that's the normal case for many traders out there. Ang gusto nila, agad-agad kumita. So, once they learn a setup, what's the normal inclination? For example, si Boss Z, okay, tinuro niya sa inyo yung bounce setup niya. And you saw in his journal or you saw in his blog that this bounce setup is the reason why he earned 2 million pesos in FNI. And then here comes a stock where it does almost exactly what FNI did when Boss Z traded it. So the typical inclination or yung typical na voice sa isip mo, okay, magbubulong yan, whispers would come in and tell you, come on, go all in, go all in. This is the same setup, go all in. Okay? So you have to really be self-aware of this, of your inclinations when you are finding or when you are gathering your data. Okay? So yun, do not rush the consistency in terms of earning part. Okay? It's not something that you can rush. No matter how hard you try to rush it, if you try to bypass the process, pag kunwari sasabihin natin na I don't need to risk a small amount of my money just for me to gather data. I can gather data while earning big. If that's your mindset, then okay, go ahead. You can do it. But just a word of caution. Okay, maybe not all, but most traders who have that kind of mindset ends up either depleting their portfolio or ends up disappointed because yun na nga parang you're still experimenting, but how come it's not yielding me the results that I want to see from my trading? Okay? So that's step 2, guys. Data gathering. Now, once you have enough data to support what you got from step 1, which is understanding yourself, okay, knowing your inclination, then what is step 3? Step 3 is solidifying your niche, and this time, extracting money from the markets. Okay? Now, this is, kumbaga, ito yung part wherein you have finally crossed the bridge. Okay? You have finally you have finally gone through the green pastures. yun yung parang term, di ba? Parang you want to go to the other side. And in order for you to do that, you have to first go through step 1 and step 2. So in step 3, guys, when it comes to solidifying your niche and extracting money from the markets, this is the time where you really go to the market with conviction. Okay? Go to the market with conviction. Go to the market with confidence. And the confidence that you have when it comes to executing, it does not come from just theory. Okay? Hindi siya galing lang kasi yun yung nakikita mo sa expectancy calculator. Or it's because that's what my mentor has said to me. Go in conviction. It would not be the case. You know why? Because at that point in time, you have already experienced the system itself. Maybe not in terms of big gains, but in terms of the effectiveness, in terms of the success rate of the system, nakita mo na siya. Okay, you saw it at work. And no matter how much we try to convince you to be, trust the system, no matter how a mentor tells you to enter with conviction, do not hesitate. Okay? Execute your entries, execute your exit triggers. If your trailing stop is hit, just sell. No matter how hard we try to impose these things on you guys, if you have not experienced the effectiveness of those strategies yourself, you will find it hard to follow them. Okay? So the only way, and I'm saying this out of experience, the only way or the only point in time where you can do that is if you did the data gathering part, if you experience it yourself. Okay? And that's the beauty of reaching step 3. Because at this point, hindi lang madali sa'yo kumita. Okay? It's not just going to be, it's not all about just extracting money from the markets. Okay? Now, it's really about just executing what you know. This time with conviction. Okay? So that's step 3. And finally, on step 4, once you reach step 4, this is a time where you can little bit expand in terms of your understanding of the different profiles. So I know some traders na they would say that they are swing traders, but the moment you give them something like, for example, a momentum setup, they can trade it with ease. In other words, they reach the point where they became parang they are jack of all trades. And personally, that is something that is very hard to reach. But, may mga traders na umabot na sa point na yun. In other words, when the market is in momentum mode, okay? When momentum season comes to the market, they can trade it with a momentum mindset. The moment the market drops, okay, and now you have a downtrending market and you are expecting some reversal, so basically that's swing trading in a way. So that trader can switch from being a momentum trader to being a swing trader. And the moment the market starts to trend, the trader would switch from being a swing trader to a trend follower. There are traders who can do that. And there are traders within the tribe who are doing that. One example is Boss Z. Even if he is a momentum trader, you can see him doing trend following. You can see him doing swing trading. Okay, and that's the level that you want to achieve. Okay, where you are one with the market in terms of its flow. Okay? For me, malayo pa tayo doon. Okay? Personally, I'm very far from that kind of mindset because I find it hard to adjust. Normally, my common mistake when it comes to trading the PSE is I always have a momentum mindset. Parang lagi akong, ito momentum setup to. And the problem with that is if I'm having a momentum mindset for this setup, but the setup turns out to be a good swing trading setup, then I end up not maximizing my gains for that stock. And sometimes it can be very frustrating, but at the end of the day, I somehow accepted the fact that I'm not yet on that level. Wala pa tayo doon. We are still in the process of going or reaching that kind of flexibility, that kind of adaptability when it comes to trading the markets. Okay? So that's step 4, expanding your niche. Trying other things. So, yun guys, those are the different steps that I personally believe are crucial in trading or in finding your trading niche. So, recap lang tayo para for the benefit of those who are late or for the benefit of those who are taking down notes. So, sige, let me do the recap with you guys. What's step 1? Or before step 1 muna tayo. What are the things that you need to remember before you find your niche? Yung mga nag-take down ng notes. What are the things that you need to lay down? Okay, you need to have yung foundation before you begin looking for your niche. So yun, you need to have a complete trading system. That's the first. Yeah, of course, you need to understand what a niche is. And ano ba yung nandito sa notes ko? Ayan, you need to also ask yourself why you are trying to find your trading niche. Okay? Yan, medyo marami pala, no? I think 4 yun. 4 na different concepts ang nilay down natin. So, let's write it down. Ayan, no, nakasulat na pala lahat. So, you know why, understand the advantages and disadvantages of the different profiles, a complete trading system, and sana yun? Asking, ayun, nandiyan na pala, knowing why. Okay? Why you are finding your trading niche. Okay? And one of the things I've mentioned a while ago is finding your niche is a function of who you can be. Okay, yung improved version mo as a trader and not who you are right now. Because it might be that who you are right now is not really your best self as a trader. Like for example, if you are poor in terms of patience, but your inclination is telling you that you are really for a momentum trading or you are really for trend following, then you have to address that disconnect or address that inconsistency. So it's either you let go of momentum trading or trend following, or you address the problem within yourself. So dalawa lang yun. Yun lang naman yung possible ways dyan. So once you have the foundations of looking for your niche, so what's step 1? Okay, step 1 is, okay, what's step 1? Ano yung step 1 natin? Knowing your strengths and weaknesses, or that's knowing yourself. Okay? Kung hindi ko man siya na-emphasize ng mabuti kanina, so yan na natin. Gawin natin klaro ngayon. Let's make it clear. So step 1 is knowing yourself. Strengths, weaknesses, okay? Trader stats, patience, risk tolerance, ability to focus, flexibility of schedule, propensity for panic. Okay, taking different personality tests, MBTI, Strengths Finder, part yan lahat under step 1. Step 2 is data gathering. This is your experimentation stage. Experimentation stage. Okay. Step 3, okay, solidifying your niche and extracting money from the markets. Okay, and step 4, expanding. Okay, not physically expanding, okay, but expanding your profile. So, again, ano yung time frame natin dito, guys? Okay, what would be our time frame? It's around 3 to 5 years. Okay? 3 to 5 years. So, this is not an overnight process. Hindi yan bukas magigising ka na lang, momentum trader pala ako. It doesn't work that way. You need to give this time. Alright. So, I guess that ends my presentation. So, I'm opening the floor to questions, okay, in relation to the topic, okay? Not questions related to technicals or setups or yung IPO bukas. You can do that within your accountability groups. So, maybe more or less 30 minutes for this. So if you don't have any questions, you can leave the podcast. If you have questions or you want to listen to my answers to the questions, and you can stay. Kasi baka yung iba sa inyo, gagawa pa ng watch list or may iba pang kailangang atupagin. Okay, is Sir Hadi still here? Do we have Sir Hadi here? Are you still listening, sir? Was I able to answer your question extensively, or are there parts that you find quite parang not that clear? Okay. Yes, that's I'm not sure if why you are surprised with that, but it doesn't mean that we are your trading coaches or we are discussing your mode we are part of your mentors and discussing the modules that we are already finished when it comes to looking for a niche. It's not the case. It's really a continuous process. Okay. So, no questions? Okay, is it possible to have a copy of the podcast record? Yes, of course, guys. This will be recorded and enhanced. Okay, I will enhance this kasi may mga parts dito na medyo magulo. Okay. So, we have question from Sir Ishko. Yan. I want to know your perspective on this. In my case, I know that I am comfortable in trend following, but I still lack the necessary data to back it up due to the market condition. Is it advisable to expand or just stay on my current goals? Okay. So, before I answer your question, gusto ko munang tanungin, sir. What do you think is the advantage of expanding to other profiles? Or why would you
more knowledge
do that? For more knowledge. Not really para lang may ma-trade ka. Hindi ganon.
Kasi in our case, for example, I know that I am confident naman in trend following, but the market is not accommodating it yet. So, parang hindi ko alam kung anong should I just stay ba or expand na lang.
Okay.
I'm on a limbo on that case. Kaya parang naliligaw ako. I feel lost.
Okay, I feel you, sir, kasi I've also been in that phase before. So, ako, I just share what I did about it. Okay? Ako kasi, I also know for a fact na momentum trader talaga ako. But of course, there are instances that the market is not for your profile. So, what I did, okay, personally is, I tried trading other setups, okay, that is outside of my profile. But, yung objective ko lang in trading those setups is just to gather data. Okay? Not really to master yung setup na yon. So, yung ano kasi dito, yung question mo is, advisable ba siya to expand? Okay? When you say kasi you want to expand in a different profile aside from the profile that you know, dapat may objective ka behind that. Okay? Is your objective mastering that? Kumbaga, since it's not yet my season, then I'll just try to master this another setup or another trade profile. Or is it just to gather data para the moment you are in that in that particular stage where you now can really expand because now you have mastered your trading profile, meron ka ng data available that can back that up because you already did that in the past. Okay, gets ba?
Yes, sir. In your question, more on data gathering lang din.
Okay, when it comes to data gathering, you're talking about small allocations.
Yes, small allocations.
Okay, that's good.
Kasi the market is not in favorable sa TF talaga eh.
Yeah, wala nga talaga. Wala talaga.
Napaka-unproductive ko naman if I'm just stay in the sidelines and learn nothing. So, kaya lang I have the feeling kasi yung parang nasa limbo ako. I'm lost. But thank you, sir. Thank you for answering.
Yes, ano yun? Actually, understandable naman yung ganun, sir. Pero ako, I mean, that's my, yun yung suggestion ko. But some traders will tell you na huwag ka na mag-trade. And I think I got that from Sir Alpha. Kasi there was also a time na tinanong ko si Sir Alpha, the same question that you asked. Sabi ko, sir, this is not a momentum market. What do you suggest me to do at this point? Ang sabi niya lang sa akin is, it's not your season. Okay? So if it's not your season, then just huwag ka mag-trade. You can study other setups. You can backtest. You can even maybe do paper trading. But as far as your main portfolio is concerned, just leave it in cash until your season comes. Okay? Yun. Tapos, din pala, one insight that I can give about that. One of the things kasi na ginagawa ko when it comes to my year-end review is I try to look at all my trades. And then I filter all of them based on whether it's part of my profile or not. So, for example, out of 100 trades, let's say 80 of those 100 trades are under momentum. Okay, 20 of those 100 trades are under the other profiles like swing, TF, etc. I did this for 3 years. And it's the same conclusion every year-end review. And you know what the conclusion is? If only I did not trade those setups that are outside my profile, if only hindi ko lang yun sila trinade, my bottom line performance would be so much better. Okay? In other words, if I just stuck with the 80 trades, okay, and just did nothing about the 20 other setups or 20 other stocks that I traded just for the sake of me doing something, then mas maganda sana yung performance. I'll give 2018 as a perfect example. 2018, I ended my portfolio with, I think, 60 plus or more or less 70% up siya. Okay, 70% growth. And then it comes 2019, I think it's around 120%. So, yun yung nasa journal data ko. This is for my whole holdings, okay, whole portfolio. So, during 2018, I was up 70% from January to December. But if I discount all the other trades that I did outside of my profile, I would have ended the year with 150% performance. And what I mean by discounting is just remove it from my journal. Kumbaga, assuming hindi ko siya trinade, tanggalin ko lang siya. That's how big the effect of that, yung ganong klaseng practice natin na we trade outside of our profiles. You might think na it's not really that significant because it's just one trade, one swing trade. I'm a momentum trader. I just do one trend following. Let me see if I'm good at this, so on and so forth. And you find yourself doing it time and time again. But the effects of that on your performance can be significant. And you will notice that only after the sample size or after mo ginawa yung whole trades mo for the year. So yun lang, word of caution lang. That's why yung advice ko is, if you know that this is really your profile, stick with it. If you want to trade other setups or you want to expand, then do it in a way that it won't affect your bottom line performance too much. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, yan, sabi ni Sir Abraham, Sir Abe, Mark Minervini took 7 years before he really became profitable. Diba? 7 years. And that's Mark Minervini, trading legend. So, ano na lang tayo, guys? Na hindi nga tayo legend ano lang tayo? Archon lang tayo. Nila pa sa Dota. So, I think that's it for tonight. Okay, thank you for participating in our weekly podcast. Okay, so I'll just release the recording sa natin, sa Trading Republic natin. Okay, yun. Salamat, Sir Hadi, for the wonderful question. Thank you and have a good night.